All right, so welcome back to the series on the meta pattern. If you haven't watched the previous videos, now's the time to go do that. If you haven't liked, commented, subscribed, hit the bell, now is also the time to do that, and feel free to share if you find this useful. We're on step 3. So we've associated the problem successfully to the problem. We've associated the client successfully to the problem or to the present state. We have disassociated them, right? So we've calibrated to the present state. We know what their physiology looks like, what it sounds like when they're in the quote-unquote problem. We disassociated from that. We got them out of it. Now we want to resource them, right? So let's talk first about a simple meta pattern. A simple meta pattern, the way it's taught and the way I think you should learn it first, is let's treat it as if we just want a state. Right? As you learn and use this, you can begin to wrap beliefs, attitudes, values, strategies, etc. into the resource column. But for now, let's look at it as a state. It's the coach's job at this point to get the client resourceful. So in a simple meta pattern, that means what state does the client want to be in instead, right? So if we were dealing with the client who had a hard time speaking up in meetings, was the example that we used earlier. Well, what state, that's how you've been. How would you like to be different? And the client looks up and to the right and they go, I think I'd like to be assertive. And I'd like to be assertive, right? So then the coach's job is to use your NLP toolkit to elicit the assertiveness, to build it up, to make sure that it's strong and sufficient, and anchor it so that you have access to it, right? So we use revivification, right? You could do a formal technique. You could build the state. You could remember a past time. In the book, and I like this, again, I think this is a great place to learn, is to use revivification, right? In the same way where we I could say to the client, well, what's it like when you're assertive? And they would go, well, I speak very clearly, I feel calm, and I'm just direct. And you're like, okay, so you feel calm, right? And you're just direct. And when you're feeling calm, where do you feel that in your body, right? So we're beginning to expand the desired state with our language, and we start to stack and build the desired state until it's sufficient. Now, the coach is using our analog. So as we're eliciting the desired state, our tone of voice becomes anchored to the desired state. This is why when we do this piece, we're going to be very precise. That if I'm speaking about being assertive, and I'm using assertive tonality, every time I say assertive, I'm gonna be reflecting back precise tonality, similar gesture, so that the client's unconscious learns what this means. Now, self-anchors are the king of all anchors, So when if the client goes, I'd be assertive, right? And this is their self-anchor, I'm going to mirror that precisely. I'm going to mirror their voice tone precisely, their volume precisely. I may exaggerate and amplify a little bit, right? So I might give them a more emphatic, right? Because if I do that, I'm essentially giving the client the signal more, right? Okay. So resourcing the client, step 3, is really about building the present state. As the coach, what's important here is A, did you calibrate to the desired state? Did you calibrate to it? Do you know what it looks like and sounds like when the client is in the desired state? And do you have it anchored? So do you have access to it, right? Because the next step is the collapse, right? Now, if this were an influence or a leadership thing, and let's say you want you're influencing your manager to do X, Y, and Z, and the resource that you want from your manager is a go for it attitude, right? Then you would want to calibrate, make sure you have go for it, and calibrate it and anchor it. All right. So the next video, we're going to talk about the collapse. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. And if you want training on this, if you want experience of actually going through and using these steps, go ahead and click on the link below to register for the training. And if you would like help with one-on-one coaching, there's a link for an application to do that.